is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. We're live on KCLV Channel 2, and this meeting will be rebroadcast Saturday at 10 a.m., the following Monday at midnight, and Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. Would everyone please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Flangus.
I'm here.
Vice Chair Moody.
Here.
Commissioner Goins.
Present.
Commissioner Truesdale.
Present.
Commissioner Quinn. Here. Commissioner Schlotman.
Present.
Commissioner Bonar.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I call your attention to the information printed in your agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and review process, if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of this agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate your adhering to these rules so we can have a smooth meeting. Thank you very much. All comments made under this item for specific action items will be cross-referenced to those items. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak under this portion of the agenda, that being public comment? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 5 of the agenda, the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting of February 12, 2013?
Motion is for approval of the final minutes for the Planning Commission meeting of February 12, 2013.
Would everyone please vote? Please post. The motion carries. Okay, we're going to now move on to the housekeeping items. Are there any items that the commissioners, staff, applicants, or members of the public would like to pull forward for action?
Mr. Chairman, the following items have been requested for action at this time. Items number 15, 16, 17, and 18, which are VAR 47839, VAR 47840, WVR 47976, and TMP 47838. Applicant has requested that these items be withdrawn without prejudice. Item number 31, SUP 48174, the applicant has requested this item to be tabled. Item 34, SUP 48108, applicant has requested this item be held to the June 11th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 35, SUP 48181, the applicant has also requested this item to be held to the June 11th Planning Commission meeting. And item 36, SUP 48182, the applicant has requested this item to be held to the June 11th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak on any of these items? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion now on these housekeeping items.
Motion is to withdraw items 15, 16, 17, and 18, table item 31, and obey items 34, 35, and 36.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. The motion carries. Before we start into the meat of the meeting, I'd like to acknowledge the Citizens Planning Academy. They're present, and we also welcome you to be here tonight. This is a 10-week course that these folks are involved in, and again, welcome tonight. Going to the one motion, one vote portion of the agenda. The following are items that may be considered in one motion, one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public hearings and non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any person representing an application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. I'm going to start with item number 7, which is TMP 48085, Marble Canyon Estates. The applicant is D.R. Horton, Inc. The owner is Great Western Bank. For possible action on a request for a tentative map for a 17-lot, single-family residential subdivision adjacent to the north side of Farm Road, approximately 280 feet west of Grand Canyon Drive in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 8, SUP 48149. Applicant is Gallagher and Associates, LLC. The owner is Wallapai Commons Limited, LLC. For possible action on a request for a special use permit for a beer, wine cooler on-sale establishment within a proposed 2,664 square foot restaurant at 9921 West Charleston Boulevard, Suite 6 in Ward 2, Councilman Beers. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 9, SUP 48167. The applicant is Asaki Restaurant 2, LLC. The owner is NP/ING Montesino Marketplace, Phase 2, LLC. For possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed beer and wine sales, beer/wine cooler on-sale establishment within an existing 2,490 square foot restaurant at 7010 North Durango Drive, Suite 140 in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 10, SUP 48171. The applicant is Centennial Gateway, LLC. The owner is Inland Diversified Las Vegas Centennial Gateway, LLC. For possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed secondhand dealer at 5643 Centennial Center Boulevard, Suite 110 in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 11, SUP 48179. Applicant is Publicus, LLC. The owner is Mission Spring Properties, LLC. For possible action on a request for a special use permit for a beer wine cooler on-sale establishment within a proposed 3,310 square foot restaurant at 1126 Fremont Street in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Item number 12, SDR 48152. The applicant owner is Wells Fargo's Bank. For possible action on a request for a major amendment on approved site development plan, SD 0026-97, for a 1,044 square foot addition to an existing 4,821 square foot bank at 1121 South Las Vegas Boulevard in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 13, SDR 48272. The applicant owner is Westcliff Pines 2 LP. For possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 3-story, 80-unit senior citizen apartment development with a waiver to allow a 0-foot landscape buffer along the south property line where a 6-foot buffer is required, south side of Summerlin Parkway at the west end of Silver Sky Drive in Ward 2, Councilman Beers. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 14 is SDR 48273. The applicant owner is Westcliff Pines 2 LP for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 3-story, 40-unit senior citizen apartment development with a waiver to allow a 0-foot landscape buffer along the north property line where a 6-foot buffer is required, south side of Summerlin Parkway at the west end of Silver Sky Drive in Ward 2, Councilman Beers. Staff is recommending approval. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, we have one correction to the one motion, one vote. Item number 12, SDR 48152, we need to amend condition number 3 for the date stamp to read as follows. All development shall be in conformance with the site plan, landscape plan, and building elevations date stamped 1/23/13, except as amended by conditions herein.
Thank you. Is there anybody that wishes to be heard on any of these items? please come up to the podium. And please state your name and address, please.
My name's Renee Lewis. I live at 261 Lucky Star Street, and this is regarding items 13 and 14. Evelyn?
My name is Evelyn Frank, and I live at 257 Lucky Star Street.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name, ma'am.
Frank?
Evelyn Frank.
And are you also here on items 13 and 14? Okay, do you wish to have these items pulled for discussion?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and consider the other matters, and then we'll call you back up. And we're going to, for this juncture, we're going to pull items 13 and 14.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Does anybody else wish to be heard on any of these matters? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on items, excuse me.
I'm going to abstain on item 12 because I own property within the notice area.
And Mr. Chair, I'm going to abstain on item number 11 as my company's under contract with the owner of that restaurant.
Thank you. Is there any discussion for the commissioners on the remaining items? If not, I'll entertain a motion right now on items number 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and 12, please.
Mr. Chair, the motion is to follow staff's recommendations for approval on items 7 through 12 on the one motion, one vote matter of our agenda, with the amendment as stated to condition number 3 on item 12.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion carries. Also acknowledging the abstention of Commissioner Truesdale on item number 12 and the abstention of Commissioner Schlottman on item number 11.
Mr. Chair, item number 7 is final action in the absence of an appeal within 7 days. Items number 8 through 12 are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you, Director. At this time, I'm going to call forward on items number 13, and beginning with item 13 first. I will have to read it again, so please bear with me. Item number 13 is SDR 48272, applicant owners Westcliff Pines 2 LP, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 3-story, 80-unit senior citizen apartment development with a waiver to allow a 0-foot landscape buffer along the south property line where a 6-foot buffer is required, south side of Summerlin Parkway at the west end of Silver Sky Drive in Ward 2, Councilman Beers. Staff is recommending approval. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, this application and item number 14 are part of the same project that was previously approved. This application is before you as the applicant has opted to parcelize this project and split it in half, thus requiring the waiver requirements from 2 legal parcels. The proposal is consistent with the approved multifamily units previously and consistent with the existing multifamily in the area, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, and I apologize for not lumping 14 in there, so I'll go ahead and read that in here as well. Item number 14 is SDR 482273, which is a related item to item 13. Applicant owners Westcliff Pines 2 LP for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 3-story, 40-unit senior citizen apartment development with a waiver to allow a 0-foot landscape buffer along the north property line where a 6-foot buffer is required, south side of Summerlin Parkway at the west end of Silver Sky Drive, Ward 2, Councilman Beers. Staff is recommending approval. Hello, sir, and I assume you're with the applicant?
Yeah, Bob Feibelman with Nevada Hand, 295 East Warm Springs. And we agree with staff's recommendations and are looking for approval and hopefully final action tonight.
Thank you, sir. And Ms. Lewis and Ms. Frank, did you have comments on this?
We are not objecting to the development. They have done a beautiful job on the opposite side of our community. But when they built the apartment homes on the other side during another Starfire, next to another Starfire community, they are right on top of them. And that's all they see are those concrete buildings. You can build. We're tired of looking at the desert, but we want the 6-foot buffer. We don't want to have to stare at the concrete.
Ms. Franks?
I agree for the same thing. We have no more vision. The value of our homes are going to get worse. We are very concerned, especially we are living nearby those places that they are going to build.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this?
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. Are there going to be two owners to this or one?
There'll be
The reason I ask is if there's two owners, Nevada Hand does a great job, by the way, but if there's two owners, I think there has to be a condition in there of passage in there on the driveway and that. There is.
I'll let the applicant go ahead and just answer that question specifically real quick, whether or not there's two owners.
Well, technically, there's two owner entities, but Nevada Hand is part of both of them.
Thank you. And at this time, does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close it for public discussion and open up for discussion amongst the commission. Anybody have comments? Commissioner Boner?
Yeah, this is directed at Public Works. Would you, even if there is the same hand being involved in each project, you wouldn't let you would never landlock the development that's behind the first development, would you?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that's correct. They actually have a parcel map that's in the system. That is the reason for this STR. You know, they need the landscape buffers in between the two parcels because they're separating their land into two parcels. And with that parcel map, we'll require the inner site access and that no other property be landlocked. So that won't happen until this STR is actually approved. They can't submit their parcel map again until this STR is approved.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Quinn.
Excuse me, sir, what was your name?
Bob Feibelman.
Hi, Bob. I was just wondering, could you do a 6-foot buffer there? I mean, would it be that big of a problem?
Well, we actually have the buffers. I think these ladies were talking about a prior phase, or a project, you know,
Do
a
you
block
have
down, which I could address, but I don't think it's before you tonight. But the buffer is between the two parcels.
Do you have a map of that they can see? Okay.
We're talking about exactly what we see.
Ma'am,
Okay,
ma'am, excuse me.
we
you
can't go back and forth.
You can't talk back and forth between you. You need to address us, and I think Commissioner Quinn has got the floor with the applicant presently.
The other thing, Bob, I'm sorry, I'm not calling you by your last name, but did you have a neighborhood meeting so other neighbors could come out and
On
talk
this,
about
we
this?
didn't, because
You
this is purely, really just a parcel map, you know, splitting the two things, and the adjusted landscaping. But I think that they may be misinterpreting that the elimination of the buffer is between our two phases. It's not on the perimeter of the property.
Well, it would be my opinion, and just my opinion, that you held a neighborhood meeting, because you can't explain it to them here and take up all of our time. But I think in fairness to these neighbors, when something's encroaching so grand behind them, that maybe a neighborhood meeting would be nice. It's just my opinion.
Agreed.
Thank
We
you.
always do that, but that, I think they're just misinterpreting what's going on here tonight. And I'd be glad to talk to them after the meeting.
Go ahead, Commissioner Slotman.
Yes, Mr. Chair. And this might be a question for the staff or the applicant. Actually, let me let Doug speak first.
Mr. Chairman, through you, the waiver is required on the overhead. You can see a dashed gray line through the middle of the parking lot and the drive aisle. What the applicant is proposing to do is to create two legal parcels. As a result of that, that dashed line will become a legal parcel line and requires the waiver of the landscaping, because we require a landscape buffer between parcels on these projects, and that's where the waiver is requested. The perimeter waivers among the properties to the east and west has already been established, and that's not being adjusted, and it met the original requirements that were previously approved. So this waiver request is a result of the parcel line that's being created down through the middle of that drive aisle, and that requires a waiver of landscaping. I hope that clarifies it.
Any other commissioners?
Yes, Mr.
Mr.
Chair.
Schwarman?
So the south property line is the line running through the center of the driveway, which really doesn't matter anyways.
That is correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on items 13 and 14.
I think we've explained the issues that were brought up, and I think there is decent landscaping that came about on both sides of the parking lot. So the question of landscaping and of access, I believe, have been addressed, and therefore I move to approve SDR 48-272 and separate action, I suppose, for the other,
That's correct, Commissioner, and that's item 13.
with all staff requirements.
Please vote. Please post. Motion carries.
And, Mr. Chairman, for the same rationale of landscaping and access, I move to approve SDR 48-273, complete with all staff recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, those items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
We're going to now move to the public hearing portion of the agenda, beginning with items number 19, which is SUP 47591. The applicant is Maximart. The owner is Tuesday 18 LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed retail establishment with accessory packaged liquor off-sale use within an existing 3,000 square foot convenience store at 2212 East Charleston Boulevard in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval, and staff, may we have the report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this item was held in abeyance from a previous planning commission to address condition number 3 of special use permit U01497, which required a 20-foot wide perpetual non-revocable public access easement connecting the existing public alley to the existing driveway accessing Charleston. To note that that this has been recorded, the easement, I understand, has been recorded, and as such, it does satisfy that condition of the original special use permit. Staff is recommending approval of the requested special use permit as the development is in compliance with the minimum special use requirements listed in Title 1912 for retail establishment with accessory packaged liquor off-sale use, and the use is compatible and harmonious with the surrounding uses.
Thank you. And can we hear from the applicant, please? And please state your name and address.
Good evening, Laura Drea, 520 South 4th Street, here on behalf of the applicant, which is Maximart. I wanted to thank Mr. Rankin for revisiting this item and reviewing the older conditions. We've satisfied them all, and we ask for your approval.
Thank you. And now open this up for public comment. Sir, please state your name and address.
Thank you, Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. Can we see the map on the screen, please? So they're going to park in the back? Is that what the deal is here? There's parking in the back?
I will address that with the commission portion. Anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion of the of this item and open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. I'll go ahead and start with the Mr. Farlow's question about the parking in the back.
There's room for approximately 3 to 4 spaces behind the applicant's store, which is accessed from the alley. But on the north side of the site, there's a 12-foot drive aisle which accesses all the parking.
Thank you. Anybody else want to be heard?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And Todd, there is plenty of parking up in the front of this building, and it is on a major thoroughfare, Charleston, where it meets Fremont and Eastern, so I do feel that it's appropriate for this area. Two things that I want to stress is the signs. The signs stay down. The signs will conform to city code not to exceed 20% of your frontage. And also a disclosure, I live in the neighborhood. However, I'm not affected any greater or lesser than any other person who lives in that neighborhood. But please ensure that your clients understand that they need to conform to that code. And number two, Chairman, through you, I just want to ask the applicant, you do have slot machines in there. Well, your staff needs to understand, or your client staff needs to understand that there's no drinking allowed at the slot machines. I've seen this up and down Charleston. I was driving down the road, seen a fight breaking out because everybody was inside of this particular establishment drinking and having a little too much. So I don't want to see that there. It's against our city code, and if you're fine with all those conditions and your client, you can portray that to your client, I'd be happy to support this.
I will portray that to the client, certainly.
Thank you. May I make one comment? Good evening. I just would love to see a nice painted handicap parking spot there. The parking lot's not striped, and from the looks of it, I did not drive through the parking lot, but the parking lot looks like it needs to be striped, but most importantly, there needs to be a designated handicap sign right there in the front where that little thing is to go in. Okay?
Yes.
Thanks.
And Commissioner Slotman, you talked about conditions to conform to all city code. Does condition number 6, does that cover what you were talking about?
Mr. Chair, it does cover it, but I specifically want to point that out because all of these stores and convenience stores seem to forget this part of our code quite often, and I have to remind them within weeks after approval. And so hopefully I won't have to drive by there and remind them of this particular code. So,
thank you. Any other commissioners wish to be heard? Saying none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair and Director Flynn, would that be an appropriate condition to add the handicap parking space on this type of application?
What I would recommend is that if you wish to add a condition, that it be stated that handicap parking shall be provided in accordance with code requirements, which will address the signage issues as well.
Okay. On item 19, SUP 47591, I would make a motion to follow staff's recommendation for approval and with the added condition of Director Flynn.
And does the applicant accept that additional condition?
Yes.
Okay, please vote. Please post. Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, that item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you. We're going to go on now to items 20 and 21. They are related items. We'll begin with item 20, which is VR 48169. The applicant is D.R. Horton, Inc. The owner is Pay Dirt Irrevocable Business Trust, et al., et al., for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a minimum lot width of 60 feet where 65 feet is required, to allow a 10-foot front yard setback on lots 1, 10, and 11 where 20 feet is required, and to allow a 10-foot corner side yard setback on lots 1, 24, 25, and 31 where 15 feet is required on 7.4 acres adjacent to the north side of Durrell Lane, approximately 420 feet west of Decatur Boulevard in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending denial. Item 21, TMP 48166, for possible action on a request for a tentative map for a 31-lot, single-family residential subdivision. Staff is recommending denial. Staff, may we have a report on these items, please?
Mr. Chairman, since the items were originally noticed, the applicant has revised the tentative map and submitted that to us on March 11, 2013, showing 30 lots where 31 were originally requested. As a result of this change, all lots now meet the minimum required 65-foot lot width, and the reduction in front yard and corner side yard setbacks are no longer needed. Staff recommends that item number 20 be stricken. The proposed residential dwelling products will remain as originally proposed. Staff finds the tentative map in conformance with the R1 zoning and recommends approval of this item. Please note we have received additional protests since publication.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant, please?
Thank you. Robert Cunningham with Tanny Engineering, 6030 South Jones Boulevard. I'm here representing D.R. Horton. I'm the civil engineer on the project. We held a neighborhood meeting on this project about 2 weeks ago. It was heavily attended. About 15 to 20 people in the area attended, voiced a number of concerns. Based upon the results of that meeting, we did revise the site plan as staff has indicated, and we've made several changes to address some of the neighborhood concerns. I'd like to just briefly go through those, what they were. We, first of all, withdrew all the variances and dropped a lot, reducing the lot total to 30 lots as opposed to 31. We increased all the lot widths to 65-foot minimum width, which complies with the R1 zoning. Let's see, all the lots adjacent to the North Street Donald have been increased in size to be approximately 9,000 square feet or real close to, as was requested by some of the neighbors that live north of this. We agreed to all single-story homes in the entire subdivision, as was discussed at the neighborhood meeting. With that, we would recommend that we would agree with staff's recommendation for approval on the tentative map. We would officially withdraw the variance in item 20. I do know that there are some neighbors I've spoken to in the last day after we revised it that do have some current concerns regarding street lighting in the area, as well as gating portions of the subdivision. I'm sure that I was told some of them will be here to speak on this tonight. So with that, I'd be happy answering questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now open this up for public comment. Sir, please state your name and address, please.
Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. So the 10-foot front yard setback is no longer in question? The problem I have with the 10-foot setbacks is that if people park their car there, the thing hangs out into the street. That's the problem I got with that.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this item and open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Question to the applicant. One of the things we have talked about, we've met previously, and we had discussed the condition of a single story. And I want to make sure that it's part of the record that you're agreeing to that single story.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
We can have that added condition.
All right, and I do want to ask staff, maybe the director through the chair, my motion is going to be to follow staff's recommendation and to strike item 20. I'm not making the motion yet, but if we do, can we make that condition for the single story part of the tentative map on item 21?
Yes, you would be able to make that motion as part of item number 21 if the applicant is in agreement with the condition.
Okay, very good.
Is there any further discussion amongst the commissioners? Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Mr. Chair, a question for planning. Under issues, it says the proposed product for this development will be subject to lot fit analysis to determine conformance with the approved setbacks. with standard lot coverage standards. So is that something that we usually do after the fact or beforehand, or what is that?
That, through you, Mr. Chairman, that process is done at the time of building permits. We do a lot fit analysis of, as they pull a permit for each home to ensure it meets the setbacks that are approved here at the Planning Commission.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Excuse me, anybody else wish to be heard? Okay, I'll first entertain a motion on item number 20 to strike it.
Mr. Chair, regarding item 20, inasmuch as all lots now meet the required 65-foot minimum lot width standard, and the reduction in the front yard and corner side yard setbacks are no longer needed, my motion is to follow staff's recommendation to strike the variance request.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. Motion carries. Item number 20 is stricken.
Item 21, TMP 48166. Motion is for approval following staff's recommendation as amended, with the added condition that these will be single-story homes.
And before we vote, does the applicant accept that additional condition?
Yes, we do.
Please vote. Please post. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And, Mr. Chairman, that item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 7 days.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next item is item number 22, SUP 48035. The applicant is Hookah Masters Lounge. Owner is Charleston Marketplace, Malkai LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed nightclub within an existing 5,775 square foot restaurant at 5900 West Charleston Boulevard, Suite 8, Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian.
Mr. Chairman, on item number 23, although these are two separate cases, they both are the same business. So what you might do is open them both together, and you'll have to take motion separately on the special use permits.
Okay, thank you, Director. We'll go ahead now and address item number 23, which is SUP 48036. The applicant again is Hookah Masters Lounge. The owner is Charleston Marketplace, Malkai LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed supper club within an existing 5,775 square foot restaurant at 5900 West Charleston Boulevard, Suite 8, also in Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian. Staff, may we have the report on both items, please?
Mr. Chairman, this space currently operates as a restaurant and banquet facility with no alcohol service. With adequate soundproofing, this use can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the surrounding residential properties to the north. Staff recommends approval with conditions of both items. Please note there have been additional letters of support and protest since publication.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant, please? And sir, if you'll state your name and address, please.
Sarkis Arshakuni, 5900 West Charleston, owner of Hookah Masters Lounge.
Okay, thank you. And technically, these two items are separate items, but we're going to treat them together, okay?
Sure.
Proceed.
Just wanted to note to the chair that the activities of a nightclub have been performed since day one of being opened. We applied last year, April 17th. We were granted a nightclub license. We have been conducting those nightclub activities since. Through applying for an additional license, it was found that the original nightclub license, which was given months before the establishment had actually opened to the public July 7th of last year. We have conducted it business as usual, and we got a temporary license reissued for the nightclub as part of a mistake done in the initial application by the Department of Planning.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll now open this up for public comment. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of this item and open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. And I see Commissioner Slotman's ready.
Yes, Chairman, through you. Just two questions. Is this all ages nightclub?
The actual restaurant banquet hall is a 18 and over establishment due to the NRS statutes of having tobacco smoking inside, which is hookah, the flavored tobacco. So we do card at the door. It's not a family restaurant. And the nightclub activities, I'm sorry, if it's not direct question, start at after 10 p.m. and during that time, I am the only business open in the shopping center.
Okay.
And
Mr. Chair, through you, one more question.
Certainly.
Are you planning on having and closing this front patio, ever having any outdoor music in the front of any sort?
no entertainment outside. Maybe in the future, if plans change, I wouldn't mind having a small seating area outside, but there would be no entertainment or music
Okay.
at all.
The only thing that I caution the applicant on is I live real close to what was an indoor bar, but they started playing music on their patio, and all of that traveled into my loft along with everybody else's houses in the neighborhood. So I would caution you on doing that and reading the conditions and reading 19.6 or whatever our noise ordinance is, and just be a good neighbor.
Certainly.
No further questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Quinn?
Good evening, Sarkis. For the record, we spoke on the phone, and I drove through your parking lot in the back, and, you know, of course, we need to stripe it and make sure there's a handicap spot, because it's not striped either. But going back to the initial March 22nd, 12, and 5/02/12, and 12/11, the only business license here that I see, sir, was a tenant restaurant improvement, and then I see an approval for no sales or for, you know, teens or any other thing with the music, and then the temporary license was extended then to 4/7/13. So that's the license you're talking about, sir? The one,
yeah.
is that the one he's talking about, Doug? I'm confused about the business license at hand.
I'm also confused. There was a temporary license issued to this location. There was some confusion on the applicant's original application, which led to some confusion. In that case, we did issue a temporary license, condition that they receive a special use permit as approved by the Planning Commission. If the special use permit is not approved, that license would cease at this time.
Okay, so that was issued and straightened out?
It was.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then when in our backup, we didn't have any complaints at all, so could you just tell me, were there a lot of complaints sent in, you know, since I received them?
I'm going to defer to the director. I don't have that
I'm just
information.
curious how many.
Showing 4 pros.
Thank you.
I'm showing 4 pros.
And then I want to make sure you understand there's no single liquor sales going out the door, like, you know, somebody can't come in, buy a beer, and then bolt out the door with
Right.
the beer in their hand, right?
Yeah.
And then in here, it also says that at all times, there will be a cook and yourself and a server on hand. Are you also going to bring in, like, somebody at 10 o'clock to ensure the safety of your guests with, like, a bouncer or something to check these IDs?
We do currently have security for the weekends.
Okay.
Bringing in the alcohol, we're going to increase the security on the weekends and add extra security for the rest of the days.
Okay, and then, you know, it doesn't sound silly at all, but I'm going to make sure one of the things I'm going to state is that there are no pyrotechnics, because even though, you know, we know this is a small little hookah lounge, we've seen too many times in the past such dangerous things happen, so none of your bands can bring in those fireworks.
No.
Okay, so you understand that.
We limit live music
Right, just a
generally
light and that's
to disc jockeys regardless. And
And then I also want to confirm with Mr. Rankin that they have 3 exits, and the seating, the amount of people, capacity is at 232. Am I right to say that?
I'm not sure what the occupancy level will be. That'll be established by the tenant improvement permit subsequent to this application.
Okay, because there's 3 exits that I can see, and I just want the opinion of my fellow commissioners if they see that's fit for, let's say there's 250 people in the room and they got to get out. I want to make sure that the exits are in place and most importantly accessible to get to, so we don't have any problems with that. So I'm going
If I may.
to let my other commissioners talk about it before I make a motion. Go ahead, sir.
Director, before you start, the director's going to answer your question.
Just relative to the public comment that we had on this, or the letters that we received, on item number 22, we received 4 letters in protest and 4 letters in support. On item 23, we received 3 letters in protest and 3 letters in support.
Okay. And I just want to say one more thing to my fellow commissioners, that I did drive in the back, and the apartments are pretty far away, where your music's going to be going out towards Charleston. You know what I mean? It's not going to be going out the back door as much as it is going out the front, so the music isn't the issue. But
The back door has no access, so it's just an emergency exit, and I would like to clarify that there are 4 exits as shown in the
oh, there's
floor
4?
plan. Yes.
Okay,
2
I'm
in the
sorry, I
front,
didn't
2 in
see
the
the
rear.
3rd one. I needed a magnifying glass, they were a little small. Okay, so I'm going to pass it on to my other commissioners to see what they have to say, and then I'll be making the motion. Thank you.
Do any other commissioners wish to be heard on this? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Regarding item number 22, for the special use permit 48035, I'm going to make the motion for approval, and I'm going to add a 1-year city council review. Okay, that means in 1 year, you're going to go back to city council and make sure that we've had no problems, because that's what we're going to do with that. And then I'm going to also add a condition that you stripe, the portion of the parking lot is yours, and that handicap parking space is more visible. There is a little sign there, but you can't see that little person, handicap guy, so if you could paint that, that would be nice. And then I want to,
I'll address the property owner.
yeah, because you
to
have,
repaint.
like Andy Fair, I know people
There
that
are,
come
I
in there
believe,
that are wheelchair.
6 handicap spots and 126 total for the whole shopping
Okay.
center. 1 handicap is directly.
Yeah, they were
near the
just kind of
front
tough to see on the ground. So that would be my 2 things that I'm going to add, and then my motion will be for approval, following all staff's recommendations at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner. You accept those conditions?
Oh, we forgot the public hearing, did we?
Just to clarify the condition, would that be a required review at city council as a public hearing? Or as a non-public hearing?
Excuse me, City Attorney Brad?
It's your choice. I'm sorry, if you want to have some meaningful input, we'd probably recommend you have a public hearing.
Yeah, at City Council, not here.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Please vote. Please post. Motion carries.
Thank you. And then item number 23, which is SUP 48036, I add the same condition.
Excuse me, Commissioner, Director has to address it because these are separate items.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just
Okay.
going to announce that on item 22, that item is going forward to the April 17th City Council meeting.
So did you write that down in City Council? Oh, okay.
I have it.
Okay. And then, so item number 23, which is SUP 48036, my motion is to stripe the handicap parking again, and to have this be a 1-year review in a public forum at City Council 1 year from now. And my motion will be for approval.
And sir, do you accept those conditions?
I do.
Please
you,
vote.
sir.
Please post. Motion carries for approval.
And Mr. Chairman, this item also goes forward to the April 17th City Council meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is item number 24, SUP 48083. The applicant is Durango Market. The owner is Kenna 3 LLC. for possible action on a request for a special use permit for an accessory packaged liquor off-sale use within an existing 2,326 square foot convenience store at 6955 North Durango Drive, Suite 1114 in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to add 20 square feet of shelf display for liquor located behind the front counter. The use will operate in addition to the existing beer wine cooler off-sale use. There are no waivers required as part of this request. The proposed use meets all Title 19.12 standards of retail establishment with accessory packaged liquor off-sale and can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the existing and surrounding land uses. Staff recommends approval. Please note we have received additional letters of support and protest since publication.
Could we hear from the applicant, please? And sir, state your name and address, please.
Nick Ablahat, Durango Market, 6955 North Durango, 89166, 89149.
Thank you. Go ahead and tell us about it.
I'm just adding a packaged liquor. I have a permit for beer and wine off sale, and I just needed to ask the committee for waiving number 6 condition, if it's possible. My windows are very strictly hit by the sun in the morning, and they kind of sign for the window is laminated. When it gets dark, it just vanish. You cannot even see them. That's only my request.
Thank you, sir. Now open this up for public comment. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion and open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Goins?
Just a quick question. You've been closed for a little while, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I remember when this was a kind of a contentious issue about 3 or 4 years ago with the sale of alcohol. Were you the owner then?
I do have, I grew up with the clothing business. I made custom-made suits, but then I learned business in liquor and beer and wine stores.
But were you the owner of the store?
Yes. in
You were the
California.
owner, you've
Yeah,
been the
Chula
owner.
Vista.
So how come you closed for a while? What happened there?
What do you mean? I just moved from California back to Las Vegas again.
So it was shut down for a period of time?
No. What do you mean, the liquor
market.
store I have?
The market
Oh, you mean
itself.
the Durango market?
Yes.
Oh, actually, I just opened it up. That was the previous people owns it. I applied for a new beer and wine.
So you just
and
bought this then?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't
very
actually
good.
bought it. They closed it, and I reopened it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody, any other commissioners wish to be heard? And then, sir, in reference to your question about condition number 6.
Yes, sir.
We cannot take that condition out. You would have to file a completely new
No, that's
variance
fine.
for that, okay?
I just was asking to, if it's possible. If it's not, that's fine with me.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion now on this item.
I'll be happy to make the motion. Item 24, SUP 48083. Motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval, subject to all conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion for approval carries. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Going to move on to item number 25. On item number 25, I'm going to have to recuse because my law firm represents one of the applicants on this item, and so out of an abundance of caution, I will not vote on this matter. The co-chairman, Moody, will take over, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item is item 25, SUP 48091, special use permit. This is, the applicant owner is 307 319 Main Street LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a packaged liquor establishment use within a proposed 1,176 square foot general retail store at 311 Main Street in Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Staff report, please.
Mr. Vice Chairman, the proposed use will not add parking beyond which is required for the principal use on site. The location is compatible with the surrounding land uses, and all minimum requirements for the proposed use are being met. Staff recommends approval. Please note we have received additional letters of support since publication.
Thank you. Applicant, please state your name and address.
Kevin Plensner, 1905 Chapman, Las Vegas.
Thank you. Go ahead. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
We're proposing the convenience liquor store. Right now, we're working with Councilman Coffin's office. He wants to, wrong picture. Is that the picture that's up there? That's not even the right property.
Give us just a minute.
Technical, probably.
We should be on item 25.
There it is.
There we go.
Okay. We're working with Councilman Coffin's office. He wants to preserve the front of the Victory Hotel, and we want to demolish the remainder of the Victory. This is part of our plan to revitalize that little block there that we own. And the convenience store is one of the first steps in addressing putting a little life into that block.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on behalf of the applicant?
No, we just painted it, so it looks better than that now.
Thank you. Now open this to public comment. Any comment? All right, we'll close the public comment portion and open this to the Planning Commission for discussion.
Mr. Vice Chairman, are you going to remove the razor wire from the...
We already have.
Oh, okay. I don't know when these pictures were done. That's the date. Thank you.
Commissioner Schlotman.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The same comments as previously, no slots and drinking, no drinking on the premises. I was going to have the same comment as Rick, so that's good to see that you've taken down the concertina wire. And this was a liquor store in the past, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I have no problem with this.
I just had one comment. And I know this, we don't regulate the interior, but is it going to have a more modern look on the inside, or is it going to be the old dingy?
Oh, no, it's going to be a
store
total gut rehab.
that you typically go into?
Brand new.
I mean, this part of Main Street with the Ogden and all the hotels doing the improvement, and in between here and City Hall, it's becoming a pretty recognized portion of downtown. So I just want to make sure you're going to be compatible and in line with all the other development that's going on.
Oh, no, long term, we'd like to have like a garden with seating, a restaurant and some living space back there, or shop space or something. This is just phase one of a long-term plan.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schlotman.
Yes, if there's no other comments, I'm ready to make a motion on item number 25, SUP 48091. I'd make a motion to follow staff's recommendations for approval, subject to all the conditions.
Please vote. Please post. That motion passes. Director?
Mr. Vice Chair, this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 26 now, which is SUP 48141. The applicant is Byron Brooks. The owner is Mountain Springs Development, LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed bail bond service use at 316 East Bridger Avenue, Suite 101 in Ward 3. Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed use can be conducted in a manner compatible and harmonious with the surrounding development and land uses. Staff is recommending approval of this request.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant, please? And sir, if you'll state your name and address, please.
It's Byron Brooks. The address is 2657 Windmill Parkway.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Sir, basically what we'd like to do is take over space in an existing building that has previously been a bail bond office. We're basically just moving in desks, chairs, and telephones.
Thank you. Now we'll open this matter up for public comment. Does anybody wish to be heard? Sir, please state your name and address, please.
Yes, thank you. Todd Farley, 240 North 19th Street. We have a problem with a bail bondsman down at Charleston Square, Stewart Square, where as collateral, they took a person's car and they put one of those boots on it. And I don't want to see this over there. There's not enough parking the way it is now. And there should be a condition on there that they won't be storing collateral or whatever it is on there.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion on this item and open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just as a matter of disclosure, I've conducted some consultant work for Lance Johns several months back. My contract's finished with them, not owing money, so we'll be voting on this matter. But through you, Mr. Chair, if the applicant could address, you're not going to be storing any cars or personal property on the site, or is that your intentions?
No, sir, we hadn't even thought about that. We really hadn't. We don't expect to have any type of vehicles parked out in front or in the back on the side of the building, anywhere.
Okay, and Mr. Chair, and I agree that site's pretty tight, being downtown, to start storing items on it. However, unlike a lot of the bail bonds that come before us, it's in the residential neighborhoods that really don't fit. I think being so close to the federal courthouse, a couple blocks away, that this is a perfect fit for, a bail bond, and not having to worry about the neon lights and signage blaring into the adjacent properties, whether if it's single family or multifamily, as people are trying to sleep. So it'll see my support tonight, but I'll see if any of our other commissioners have any comments first.
Thank you. Any other commissioners wish to be heard? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, on item number 26, SUP 48141, I would make a motion to follow staff's recommendations for approval with all attached conditions.
Please vote. Please post. Motion for approval carries.
Mr. Chair, this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Move on to item number 27, which is SUP 48146. The applicant is Oja Japanese Steakhouse Sushi and Hibachi owner. Owner is PK1 Rainbow Promenade LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for beer wine cooler on sale establishment within an existing 4,992 square foot restaurant at 2051 North Rainbow Boulevard, Suite 102 in Ward 5, Councilman Barlow. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have the report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting to serve beer and wine only with meals at a proposed restaurant within a shopping center. A more intense supper club use was approved for this location in December of 2012, but the applicant is no longer wishes to be restricted by the requirements of the supper club use. The proposed use meets all of Title 1912 use requirements and can be conducted in a manner that is compatible and harmonious with the surrounding uses, and staff recommends approval. Please note we have received letters of support and protest since publication.
Thank you, sir. Can we hear from the applicant? I'm not seeing anybody coming up for the applicant. We're going to go ahead and trail this matter for a little while, and we'll move on to items number 28 and 29, which are related items. Item number 28 is SUP 48160. The applicant is Farmer Boys Food, Inc. The owner is Inland Diversified Las Vegas Centennial Center, LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed restaurant with drive-through at the southwest corner of Tropical Parkway and Centennial Center Boulevard in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 29 is SDR 48158 for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 3,195 square foot restaurant with drive-through. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, can we have the report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed restaurant is part of a larger shopping center located in the same lot to the south. The drive-through component of the restaurant requires a special use permit. Staff recommends approval of both requests as the use is compatible and harmonious with the surrounding commercial uses and meets the requirements of Title 19. Please note we have received one letter of support since publication.
Thank you. May we hear from the applicant, please? And sir, if you'd state your name and your address, please.
Jeff Froing, 3471 West Oquendo Road.
Okay.
We are asking for your approval for the 3,195 square foot Farmer Boys restaurant with a drive-through within an existing commercial center located on the southwest corner of Tropical and Centennial.
Thank you. We'll open this up for public comment. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion on these items and open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners.
Seeing none, Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Thank you.
Item 28, SUP 48160. Motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Please vote. Please post. Motion for approval carries. Item number 29.
SDR 48158. Motion is to also follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Please vote. Please post. Motion for approval carries.
Mr. Chair, this item is, actually both of these items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
All right, thank you.
That was very painless. Thank you. Moving on now to item number 30, which is SUP 48168. The applicant is CAL Ranch Stores. The owner is D&W Inc. for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 19,000 square foot building and landscape material / lumber yard use at 232 North Jones Boulevard. It's a C1 limited commercial zone in Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, if we could have a report.
Mr. Chairman, the project will include 19,592 square foot outside storage and display area in the southeast corner of the parking lot. The outdoor storage area will be secured by an 8-foot tall black wrought iron fence with east perimeter screening using a matching mesh attached to the fence to provide screening to the residential properties to the east. The applicant is meeting all conditions by screening the east side of the outside storage. Staff is recommending approval. Please note we have received letters of support and protest since publication.
Thank you, and like to hear from the applicant, please. If you'll state your name and your address, please.
My name is Bill Bunker, 2297 West, 11625 South, Riverton, Utah. I speak on behalf of Cal Ranch Stores.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We would like your permission to complete the outdoor display and storage area on our store property.
Okay, thank you. I'll open this matter up for public comment. Does anybody wish to be heard on this? Sir, if you'll state your name and address, please.
Thank you. Todd Farley, 240 North 19th Street. I'm glad to see something going in here. A bit ago, they were fighting over the signs down there. Was that ever resolved?
Fighting over the what, sir?
The signs. They had some premise signs out there, and they were all fighting over it. Did they ever get that resolved?
I'll address that in a moment. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of this and open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. And we'll just start off with to answer Mr. Farlow's questions about the signs.
Mr. Chair, I can speak to that issue. The issue of the on-premise, the off-premise signs was resolved at City Council last year, and so that issue has been addressed.
Thank you, Director. Any other commissioners wish to be heard on this matter? Commissioner Bonar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. I heard mention of a mesh being applied to the wrought iron. And I wonder if, well, what it is, what its appearance is, what its color is, why is a mesh needed? If I could just have some explanation on that.
Mr. Bunker, would you care to answer that question?
I think I would ask your city staff why that's required. We're just trying to meet local requirements.
The mesh is required along the east side in order to screen the residential property to the east of this item from the storage. That is a requirement in Title 19 that outside storage be screened from views from residential areas in order to lessen the impact of the project. Normally, a project would, of course, have landscaping. This site was built and approved without any landscaping along there to buffer that area, and the screening for outside storage is a requirement. The indication I have is that it will be a metal mesh to match the wrought iron.
We have been told metal mesh, and then we were told that it needed to be a solid material. We will be happy to go with whichever way we're asked to do.
Just to clarify through you, Chairman, the code requires it to be sufficient to screen the item. We have seen metal meshes that make that requirement, where the ones with the very small diamonds still allows wind to pass through, so your wind load isn't too high on the fence itself, and those have worked in the past.
That would be where I was heading, so thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. Commissioner Truesdale?
For staff, for the applicant, through you, Mr. Chairman, when you say outside storage, building, landscape materials, lumber, yard use, what's going to transpire? Is this something that's going to be, there's going to be forklifts?
No. Our business is, as the name implies, Cal Ranch Stores. We sell a good number of cattle panels, gates, squeeze chutes, things for handling horses and cattle. And those are the type of displays that or the items that would be out there. They're not suitable for inside storage or display. They're made to be outside, and that's the kind of thing that you would find out there. Different types of fencing material for sale, as in chicken wire and things to pen in different animals.
What are the hours of operation? I mean, are these, putting this yard use here, is there going to be an a greater impact on those apartments with material handling vehicles like a forklift, or that constantly beep all morning long or all evening long, depending on what hours you're open?
The items that are out there during the hours that we're open, we may need, if we sell them, we'd need to move them. Typically, the only time that you'd need a forklift out there is when you're doing receiving of product of that nature, and that would be once every 10 days to 2 weeks that in that neighborhood that we would be receiving product of that kind.
And it would be at normal business hours?
Normal business hours, right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else wish to be heard? Commissioner Quinn?
Nobody else wishes to be heard. I'm going to, pardon? You did notice the graffiti, sir, on the wall, right?
I believe that graffiti has been
It's
removed.
gone by now.
And
Yeah.
we will make sure that that stays.
Because unfortunately, that's going to get hit a lot, I'm sorry. But anyway, welcome to Las Vegas, Mr. Bunker.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to make a motion of approval following staff's recommendation that you will have the metal mesh at your choosing metal mesh on the east portion of the property, mainly for me to shield the neighbors because they've been there a long time and, you know, they just don't want to look at all your stuff. So with that addition, are you okay with that?
I am.
Then I'm going to make a motion for approval of SUP 48168, following all staff's recommendations, including the solid screening along the east perimeter of the property. Thank you.
Please vote. Please post. Motion for approval carries.
Mr. Chair, this item will go forward to the April 17th City Council meeting.
Thank you. Move on to item number 32, which is SUP 48177. The applicant is Hyatt Market. Owner is the TD Jack Family LP for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed retail establishment with accessory packaged liquor off-sale use within an existing 2,684 square foot convenience store at 2558 South Valley View Boulevard, Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, if we could have the report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed use will not add parking beyond which is required for the principal use on site. No more than 10% of the retail floor space will be used for the display and sale of packaged liquor. The site location is compatible with surrounding land uses, and all minimum requirements for the proposed use are being met. Staff recommends approval. Please note we received additional letters of support and protest since publication.
Thank you, and we'll hear from the applicant, and starting with the name and address, please.
Good evening. Lucy Stewart, 3900 Meadows Lane.
Amir Alcasionan, 499 Holly Hunt.
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't catch your last name.
Alcasionan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we would like to submit a petition from the surrounding neighbors of 88 signatures in favor of this item. And I think there was an issue that did come up today, and I had a conversation with Mr. Lowenstein, and I guess this didn't get added, but there was a concern, I think, about additional signage. And so on the next item, you do have a condition regarding signage. And so we are agreeing and offering to add that condition to this, that add the condition that all signage be permitted and meet minimum code requirements within 30 days. And so we would just like to offer that and then agree to all the other conditions that are recommended.
Thank you, and we're going to open it for public comment, but before we do, could you please bring that, your petition over there and hand it to the clerk, please? Thank you. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion on this item and open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Mr. Chair, through you, if I could ask the applicant a question. It was relayed to me that your building is in compliance with the sign code. Is that correct?
And I'd like to clarify that. I thought that we were, but when I had a conversation with Peter Lowenstein earlier, we just said that we would add that condition, and then we'll just double check and make sure, and if there's any signage that needs to be removed, he will remove it.
Okay, because it looks like 75% coverage, not 20.
So that's why we added that.
And so I appreciate you adding that, and also want to stress that this isn't for 30 days that you get to keep your signs down. It's forever. As long as you are in business there, it's 20%.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else wish to be heard? Commissioner Quinn? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Boner?
Just a quick one. I guess I'm still getting acquainted with what a sign is in the city, but does an open sign, the fact that you're open, count toward that? Does a building facade that's covered with beer, wine, and all that other stuff count toward that? Where does it start? Where does it, well, we know it ends at 20%, but what all counts?
Mr. Chair, through you, in response to Commissioner Bonar's question, looking at the photo that you have before you, the neon signs that are in the window advertising various brands of beer, as well as the posters or the illustrations that you have down on the lower level of the windows, all of that counts as signage. Has already been pointed out, you can cover a maximum of 25% of your window area per code. And so looking at this picture, it looks like they exceed that requirement and would need to bring that into compliance with code requirements.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
And what about the signage that's on the building facade itself? That's not the glazed part, if you don't mind.
Yes, up there along the parapet, there are limitations on the square footage of the signage that you can have there relative to the overall square footage of the wall. In just looking at what they have there, I believe that the signs up there on the parapet of the building are in conformance with code requirements, but again, we'd be happy to confirm that.
Commissioner Quinn?
Hi, Ms. Stewart. I was just reading here on January 16th at the pre-application meeting. It says that it was noted that the existing beer, wine, cooler on and off sale use shall remain active if served with meals. Is that your understanding?
Yes,
So they
Ms.
can't buy it and leave?
No, yes, they can actually, that license is active for
Okay.
on-premise. So they
All right.
have to keep it active, otherwise it goes away.
Okay, and then, you know, the parking lot's terrible, Ms. Stewart, right? I mean, it just needs to be restriped, and a handicap spot needs to be put in. The parking lot needs to be up to code. So I'll add that, and other than that, I'll make the motion for approval of item number SUP 48177, adding that no one will be sitting and drinking at the slot machines, and that the 20% rule will follow the sign rule. You'll take that down to 20% versus the 75%. And then I know it's a lot to ask because it's the entire parking lot, so whatever you could do in that hand to make it, you know, look a little bit better or more pleasing for a disabled person to enter. That's a hard condition to meet because the whole place looks not very good. So anyway, my motion is for approval on SUP 48177.
And before we vote, do you accept those conditions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to say the condition about the parking lot because the whole thing is bad.
Actually, I think there is a condition in there that staff included about
Okay, I'm
restriping the
sorry, I
parking
didn't
lot,
read it.
and that would also include everything.
And I know
so.
you would anyway, Ms.
It's,
Stewart.
it's condition number 8 for the record.
Okay, so could you tell me what my conditions are again, Mr. Rankin, so I didn't miss something?
Actually, I'll go ahead and
Okay,
do that.
Mr. Flynn.
Mr. Chair, through you, the conditions that we would be adding to this application would be, number 1, that all signage shall conform with code requirements within 30 days. And then the second condition that you added, Commissioner Quinn, was relative to no one sitting and drinking at slot machines. In other words, they need to conform with the liquor
food.
code requirements.
And then the parking lot condition that she said was
Which is already condition number
is it
8.
Number 8. Okay, so with that, I'll make a motion for approval of SUP 48177, following all staff's conditions and the few that we added. Thank you.
Thank you, and please vote. Please post. Motion for approval carries.
And Mr. Chair, this item goes forward to the April 17th City Council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on now to item number 33. On item number 3, I will be abstaining. I represented clients in extensive litigation against one of the principals involved in item 33. So out of an abundance of caution, I will abstain on this matter.
Next item, 33, SUP 48178, special use permit. The applicant is Market and Jones Incorporated. The owner is TP 1000 LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed retail establishment with accessory packaged liquor off-sale use within an existing 2,340 square foot convenience store at 1,000 South Torrey Pines Drive, Suite A in Ward 1. Could we please have a staff report?
Mr. Vice Chairman, the proposed use will not add parking beyond which is required for the principal use on site. No more than 10% of the retail floor space will be used for the display and sale of packaged liquor. The site location is compatible with surrounding land uses, and all minimum requirements for the proposed use will be met. The staff recommends approval. Please note we have received additional letters of support and protest since publication.
Thank you. Applicant?
Good evening, Lucy Stewart, 3900 Meadows Lane.
Wissam Kaju, 2758 Urbana Street.
Can you repeat or spell your name for us, please?
It's Wisam. Last name is Kajue.
Thank you.
And again, we would just, again, the issue of signage came up today, and I believe that is already a condition with regard to the signage, that it will be legal and conform to code within 30 days, and we agreed all conditions from staff.
Thank you very much. We'll open this for public comment. Does anyone wish to speak? We'll close the public comment portion of this and open it to the Planning Commission for comment and discussion. Commissioner Goins.
Good. I think this is about the third item we had where we had to address the 20%. At some point, where are the applicants not getting 20% versus 95% of your front of your store pastered with beer posters? I mean, how do we get? I mean, we probably start off at 20% once you get approved and walk away tonight, and tomorrow you're happy and you start fixing your store. So at what time, when do you start increasing it? Is it 90 days after, 180 days after you come out and say, you know, I'm going to put up a light beer poster, I'm going to put up a Heineken poster. You know what? I'm going to do the whole front of the store with this. What do you guys don't get?
Would you like for me to respond, or would you like for the applicant? Yeah, or either.
Pardon me?
Who would you like to respond, for me or the?
No, I'd like to hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
Okay. The signage was from day one, and we had a letter from the city that they said we had more signage, and they said you cannot put those signs, and they went apply for a permit. When they saw those signs, they didn't complain about it, and I still have the permit that these signs we were allowed. If you want me to take them, I'll be more than happy to do that.
But you know going in what the rules are.
Well, like I said, those are from day one. We didn't add up nothing. The city came in, they saw it, they said, okay, the minimum required, which is as if it's right now, that's what it is. And then when I went, they said, all you have to do is apply for the permit, we'll grant you the signage. And if the city now doesn't require that, I will be, like I said, I'll be more than happy to take them. But the signs that were there from day one.
Thank you.
And if I could just add, what we'll do is we'll take this picture down, and I think that might be the confusion, is applying for a temporary permit and then, you know, what it actually ends up looking like. So what we'll do is we'll take this picture down to staff, show them what it is, and say what's approvable, what's not, and then we'll just remove what's not.
Yeah, but I mean, from an aesthetic standpoint and from a business owner, I mean,
it's a lot of signs.
I mean, I see it right up front. It says video poker, market and smokes, beer and wine. I don't need a picture of the light beer 18-pack. I don't need the Corona bottles. It says beer and wines inside of the market and smokes store.
Agree.
That's what it says.
If you were a retailer accepting discounts based on the signage you put up, I think you'd want to have those there. Therein lies part of the problem.
You know, I was curious about why it was that every one of these retailers had it up there, and I guess that makes sense, and whether it's the marketing money or just capturing consumers' eyes as they're going down the road. But I'd love to see that permit that you have, and if you could bring that in, we'd I'd be happy to see if the city actually did issue that, and so we could see where the root cause of the problem is.
Sure.
And also, I hate to keep reiterating this, but every person who comes up here, I don't want you to forget, no consuming alcohol in this store.
Commissioner Quinn.
Yes. Okay, Ms. Stewart, I'm ready to make a motion for approval following staff's recommendations. And it says right here that the parking area was clean and maintained, so that's nice to hear. So thank you. And then I think, what? Yeah, it looks so nice. And so, of course, we'll have the 20%, the sign rule done. But I think what it's time for, and I'm sorry that it's going to start with this one, but I think every time I personally see something like this, I'm going to put a one-year administrative review on it, so that when somebody goes back out in a year, with no disrespect to you, sir, because I'm not saying it's just you, it's all of them, those signs will remain down. So I'm going to add a one-year administrative review, and then I'm going to, the 20% signage thing, and then following all of other staff's recommendations, that's it. So SUP 48178 is approval following all staff's recommendations, including a one-year administrative review, mainly regarding the signs. Thank you.
And before voting, can I just ask the applicant if you agree to those conditions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Please vote.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Motion passes. Director?
Mr. Vice Chair, this item goes forward to the 4/17 City Council meeting, the April 17th City Council meeting.
One quick comment. I supported this application because I think the applicant may have a letter or not have a letter, but we as a planning commission have the right to hold these SUPs if these buildings are covered with signs left and right, and if there isn't a message from the city itself, these applicants will continue to push the edge wherever they can. I mean, it's human nature, apparently.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, we're going to move ahead to item number 37, which is SUP 48191. The applicant is Ashley Restivo. The owner is Barbara Zink. For possible action on a request for a special use permit for a horse corral or stable commercial use at 6666 West Ann Road in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, if we could have a report, please.
The applicant proposes to see clients by appointment only, with the anticipated hours being 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a maximum of 15 horses on site. Staff finds the subject site is physically suitable for the type and intensity of land use and recommends approval of the special use permit. Staff does note that there were letters of support and protest after publication.
Thank you. And can we hear from the applicant, please? Come on up and state your name and your address, please.
Ashley Restivo, and my address is 6666 West Ann Road, Las Vegas, Nevada.
I'm Joseph Restivo, same address.
Okay. Want to tell us about it a little bit, or?
Basically, what I'm requesting is just by appointment only for what he was saying, for riding lessons. Currently, we have just all our horses on the property. I basically want to be able to invite kids out and ride with us and learn about responsibility and about horse care and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. Going to open this up for public comment. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? Please come on up. And ma'am, if you could state your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Lynn Hoffman. I live at 5612 Lusitano Street in the subdivision called Ponderosa Estates. I'm a recently retired chief financial and information officer, and I worked as a CFO for our land development and construction company for 20 years in Pennsylvania. At this time, if you deem it appropriate, I'd like the members that live in, or the homeowners that live in Ponderosa Estates to stand so you can see that I'm here representing their interests. Would that be appropriate?
That would be fine. I appreciate just one person on this instead of having to hear from everybody at one time. Thank you. Please proceed, ma'am.
To be very clear, we're not opposed to folks having horses on their property. In fact, I love horses and dogs and every other kind of animal imaginable. We recognize their right to have their horses and that the property that they are renting is appropriate to have horses. Specifically, though, we are opposing the special use for which they have applied. The basis for our opposition is that the Restivos are not long-standing members of our community, and they do not plan to be here but for perhaps another year. They do not own the property, as I said. They rent it. The owner of the property lives in California and has no vested interest in the commercial horse operation, nor is that the owner a beneficiary of those horse operations. The commercial operation, to my way of thinking, seems to be in conflict with the spirit of the Rural Preservation Zone. In addition, the commercial operation within a residential zone is detrimental to our property values as well as the quality of our life, especially those homeowners in Ponderosa Estates, because of the barrage of dust, odor, flies, and noise and related health issues that have been created by these horse operations. The Unified Development Code lays out a number of items that are important to note, and it establishes the intent for actually establishing the residential codes. And I won't read them to you, you know what they are. The code I'm referring to is 19.06020. I want to reinforce that the last item, item F in the code, says to provide for landscaping and buffering that aids in filtering dust and particulate matter from the air. Now, specifically, and I'm sure there's some familiarity with this, but raw horse manure is placed in a dumpster. That dumpster is located approximately 20 feet from the common rear wall of Ponderosa Estates. If we look to other codes, if we were starting to build this property anew, that dumpster would have to be located 50 feet from our property. So as a result, when the wind blows our way, we smell horse manure. Horse manure is an aggravation to people that have pulmonary problems already. The road to be used, if we can call it a road, it's a dirt lane, if you will. It's not paved. It's never been improved. Whether we would call it an access road, a private drive, an alley, a private street under Title 19, if it falls into any of those categories, it has to be of some minimum width. But for all those types of streets, roads, alleys, whatever, it has to be paved. The road is not wide enough to have adequate distance from Ponderosa Estates' common wall, such that damage to our wall is likely. Now, picture that 50-foot horse trailers come down this little country lane, and the dust billows in clouds over our backyards, right over the common wall. Common wall, right, and right next to it is the road that is used.
Excuse me just one second, ma'am. Because you are speaking for everybody, I'm going to give you a little bit more time than we normally do, but
I appreciate
I would urge you to try to get to the points and tell us what you're looking for exactly, okay? I think you're getting close, but I just wanted to just tell you we're giving you a little more time because you are speaking for the entire group.
Thank you. Regardless of the type of street this is, if it's a street or not a street that's subject to code, if it's a driveway, then in a residentially zoned property, you can only have one driveway. This property has two, the driveway for the house and a dirt road right next to our common wall. We're law-abiding citizens in Ponderosa Estates, and I think the Restivos are struggling with our neighborhood. I think, as it's stated in their application package, the commercial operation began without obtaining the proper business license and the special use permit. Hard-packed dirt continually and intentionally is disturbed by cars, trucks, horse trailers, and ATVs, whether they're driving on this thing we call a road or whether the ATV is pulling a sled behind it, a heavy sled, which does some churning with the dirt. It causes, as I said, those dust clouds to roll over, and this is 1,000 feet long of common wall and homeowners that are affected. All that dust blows onto our improvements. So we have exterior kitchens, swimming pools, hot tubs, furniture, and all of that dust accumulates in our backyards and makes our backyards unusable. The dust aggravates breathing problems for people who already have problems or creates problems for those who don't already have problems, and especially our kids who, a great volume of the population comes into being with breathing problems.
Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up here in the next 30 seconds if you don't mind.
I'm trying.
Okay, appreciate it.
Dust seeps into our homes as well as being outside, so we really can't be anywhere to get away from the dust. I'm trying. I disagree with staff's recommendation. We don't think that the Restivos have comported themselves and their business operations such that their use is harmonious and it's not compatible. Whatever means the Restivos have chosen to remediate problems of dust, flies, etc., isn't working. It's not working. It's not suitable for proposed land use because there's an inadequate buffer between the corral stalls and access road, as I said, along our 1,000 feet of common wall. The dirt road is not adequate to meet the needs of commercial traffic, which includes those cars, trucks, trailers. There are 3 curb cuts into the property from Ann Road, the home's driveway, the dirt road next to our Ponderosa Estates wall, and the 3rd curb cut is farther away and is located next to other properties that are zoned RE and have horses, cows, pigs, etc. So it seemed to me that the better place to access the property would be at that third curb cut away from our community. Approval of the SUP shall negatively affect neighbors with pulmonary problems, shall not allow us to enjoy our
Okay,
exterior yards.
Ma'am, I'm going to cut you off now because you've been going for almost 10 minutes, and I think we're just revisiting the same issue. I think we understand that you have a problem with the dust and its effect on everybody's lungs and the like, and so thank you very much for speaking on behalf of that group, and I hate to cut people off, but we do have certain rules with this meeting, and I gave you a lot more time. We normally give about 3 minutes. And so I gave you a lot of time because you were speaking on behalf of a group. And so I thank you, and I would ask, if you don't mind, to stay kind of up towards the front row in case the commissioners have some direct questions of you as we proceed in this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who else would like to be heard? Sir,
Thank
to
you.
state your
Todd
name.
Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. This just makes me mad as
Todd.
Commissioner Truesdale, Commissioner Goins, Commissioner Quinn. If you remember, 10 or 12 years ago, when the developers came out there, we told them point blank, this was Hort's property, and we didn't want any bitching and moaning when the flies and the dust came up. And they said, no problem, no problem. And here we are, standing here with a problem. These people, the developers should have told these people point blank when they bought those houses that this was Hort's property. And this just, I'm just so angry at this, I could just scream.
Thank you, Mr. Farlow.
Thank you, sir. Would anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close.
Opportunity to respond.
This is not a give and take. Sir, I think you stood up as part of the group a little while ago, and I appreciate it. I would go ahead. Is there anybody else that's not part of that group wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment portion and open it up for questions and comments for the commissioners.
I just have, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm going to go with Commissioner Moody first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a few questions for the applicant and maybe a few for Ms. Hoffman. To the Restivos, how long have you been at this property?
We moved into this property back in August.
Okay, August of 2012.
Yes, sir.
And is you are renting?
Yes, sir, we are.
And-
I'm sorry, I was going to say, we possibly are renting to buy.
Okay. The comment was made that you're not going to be there very long. Do you have a short-term plan for staying there?
Not that I know of.
Okay. And again, through you, Mr. Chair, have you had a problem with code enforcement?
I've had a problem as far as them coming out and investigating, but I know the city of Las Vegas, the guy that comes out, he knows me by first name. He comes out and takes pictures, and he says we're in complete compliance. We have a tripod that goes in. Like, if you go back to the picture of the arena, you'll see it's wet. He said that we probably have one of the best arenas he's been around town on, that he goes and sees. Our dust control is completely up to code. As far as the dirt road she's talking about, it is gravelled, and we did bring in new gravel to re-gravel it.
Okay. So someone's calling code enforcement, but
Yes.
your response is when they come out, that you haven't been fined, you haven't been cited?
No, sir. They came out probably almost every other day for a week.
All right.
And so the lady that was just here speaking is actually, she called me to tell me that she called them every day. But he's been out and he checked everything. He's taken pictures. I told him to take tons of pictures, document everything to let, you guys know that we are doing everything we can to keep the dust down. And as far as fly control, we are doing everything we can. It's wintertime right now, so there's no flies, absolutely no flies.
All right, thank you. And I would note for the record that your response is consistent with staff notes. There was a field check on January 31st of 2013, just about 45 days ago. Staff visited the site. They found a well-maintained single-family residence with corrals and stables located at the rear of the property. It was noted the applicant was in the process of performing dust abatement measures. No discernible odors or pests within the existing privately owned horses on site, adequate space for parking and drop-off, with space dedicated for handicap parking.
Yeah.
So,
And we also had environmental control come out too, to investigate the dumpster and to investigate the stalls, which they said they usually don't come out for horse corral issues. But they said that the person on the phone had made it sound like it was a very special case. that horses were being neglected or whatever. So they'd come out, and she said that it was probably the cleanest ranch she's seen.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Quinn, I think you were next.
Thank you. Ms. Ashley, where is your dumpster located?
Right now, it's off the little access road. It's basically between the private drive and the access road.
And is it near the Pioneer Estates?
No, it's closer to our property. It's more on our fence line than anything.
Okay, we have a map up. Can you see
Oh,
the
okay.
map, sweetheart? Could you
Yeah.
point it out to me?
Okay, so you know in between the egress and the primary home?
Yes.
Like towards the road, it's on our side of the house.
So where that arrow is and that's
Yes.
61
Yes, ma'am.
feet? Okay, well, maybe one suggestion is you could move it. Maybe like go around the side to the barn or something, or is it because the
It's-
garbage people can't get in to see it? Okay.
It's not it's not very easy for them to pull in there, which we've suggested to them, but they
Right.
said that's kind of like what they've
Yeah,
done with all the
I
other horse
understand.
corrals.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it was a good idea, but a bad suggestion. Right, Rick? I mean, I don't know. And then, have you thought of, I'm very familiar with horse property in town. My daughter rode for many, many years, and I'm not going to toot her horn, but it was, it wasn't as nice as this looks. And they had a water truck come, probably, I want to say because it was, wasn't cheap, but they had a water truck during all of July, all of August, and part of September. I would say probably once a week. Could that be something you looked into versus just spraying it down?
What we have is something that's I think the system's a little bit better than a water truck.
Okay.
Because we have a tripod system that goes out on timers, and so during the whole entire use of the arena, and other areas like the corrals and stuff like that, we have tripods going and watering everything during the day to keep the dust down.
So that you're not just spraying it down?
No, it's a tripod that's continually going
Okay,
all day.
and then where do you cool down the horses? Is the cool down area, do you have like a little, thing that they walk around? Is that near the homes?
No, we don't have a hot walker or anything like that. When we ride them, we just walk them out ourselves, and then we spray them down. There's like a wash rack and stuff like that. So.
Okay, and then one more question, and I'll turn it over to my other commissioners. Your hours, I see, are going to be from 9 to 5, and I know just from experience that the best riding hours in June, July, and August are from 5 to 9. Let's be honest with each other here. So what I want to know is what kind of lighting do you have? Is it going to be blaring down into these people's backyards?
Currently, we don't have any lighting system. The arena next door to us, they team rope, and they have lights and stuff like that. And actually, if you look at that picture, there's 3 arenas alongside. So it's our arena, another arena, and another arena.
So you feed off of their lighting if you need a little extra light at quarter date or something?
It pretty much lights up the whole entire area.
Okay, so that's good for you, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so thank you for answering those questions for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Goins?
Just a couple of, not really questions, just observations. I was just looking at the backup notes, and I'm on the same page here with Mr. Farlow. It just amazes me that, people don't do their homework, or either the developer didn't disclose what was in the area. Very simply put, if you look at the backup notes, back in 1966, there was a single-family dwelling put on this property with stables and corrals. 1966. I think if I do math real quick, that's 37 years ago, before any of you even envisioned moving out there. And then even back in 1992 of May, this same property was approved for emu birds. Okay, and so the life of this property has been some type of animal on it. It's out in the rural area, and speed forward, we have, during the boom, people buying properties, building, developing. Again, this doesn't have anything to do with this, but they put up signage and tell you anything, and you come in and get it. But this is what this has been for 37 years. So you want them to come in now and just say, shut everything down, cut out the horses, we've built behind you, we're tired of the dirt and the flies. And so, sir, have a little respect, please. Have a little respect.
Excuse me, just a moment. All comment will be at the mics and from up here, so please, sir, if you can... Well, sir, you're going to have to just sit there, please, and not interrupt the meeting at this juncture. Thank you.
So with that being said, I think the applicants have come in and utilized the process. look at the process. It's been recommended approval by staff, and so I think they've done everything that they need to do. And so my question is, what's the total amount of horses you're going to have here?
The total amount, well, we don't plan on having any more than like 14. I know the property's zoned for 24.
Yes, you
but
can go
I
up
don't-
to 24 horses.
Yeah, which
Yes.
I don't really plan on like building more onto the barn, and so I don't really want to, I don't think we'll ever exceed capacity or get even close to capacity is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Good, and I support it, because you're not asking for anything beyond the code. You haven't created any hardships. Everything you've done, it seems to be by the book. You've made your presentation, you supported your arguments with the code enforcement, the gravel road, your tripod system for watering, and good luck. And I work a lot with at-risk youth and kids, and I'm very happy to see that you want to engage kids in that as well. So, thank you.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Truesdale?
I appreciate the neighbors that live in the residential development. It's zoned RPD2, 2 lots per acre, which is density-wise the same as the RE. The difference is the RE allows for the horses, and it's been there. Now, granted, there are times when the impacts are greater or lesser, but I suspect this is, no one probably likes to hear, maybe neighbors could communicate a little better. I don't think you want to harm them. I don't think they want to harm you. It's a function of we all live, or y'all live in this area, and you want the best for yourselves. But this is this is an RE. This is what's always been envisioned on these lots out here. That's why they could have up to 24 horses. That's been in the code for some time. The difference of whether they have at-risk youth or they have somebody else riding there, most all of these ranch estate arenas do some sort of boarding, which is on the edge of commercial use over the years anyway. So I don't think where this is an aberration. There may be some things like trying to work with Republic to try and find an alternate location for the dumpster might be something that I would encourage the applicant to work and even reach out to our staff. Maybe they can help with Republic to try and encourage them to come up with a solution for you. If you're, as you say, you're watering if this was just raw dirt out here, you would still have the dust blowing in your backyard. I grew up here. Blow sand is an evident natural condition, especially out in this Northwest. So I'm going to support the application, even though I know it impacts you, and I think you guys should communicate with each other, and you might find a common solution that it makes everybody's life a little better.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I made a correction. I said 37 years. That's actually 47 years. Thank you.
Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Mr. Chair, through you, if I can ask the applicant a question. I just don't understand the site plan. Can you explain what it means, turnout, the 3 green boxes with arrows pointing towards neighbors' houses?
So the arrows are basically showing that we're staying the setback. So like where the green is, where it says turnout, that's where the horse area ends. So there's 61 feet from the horse area to the neighbor's house.
Okay.
And so it's just showing that it's in code. Because I believe it's 50 feet or something like that it has to be in code. And so that's all that's showing.
And Madam, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, used to Vicky being up there.
Excuse me?
Mr. Chair, through you. The lady who gave the presentation earlier, and maybe I was a little confused, I think she was talking about 3 curb cuts or something along the lines.
I'm sorry, say that again?
She was talking about different curb cuts coming off your property, and if you used a different curb cut, you could maybe reduce dirt, or am I confused on that?
There are 3 quote-unquote curb cuts off of the West End Road. One is that egress location, the other one is a driveway that leads up to the primary home. The third one is a separate curb cut on the other
Goes-
2 acres further east.
It goes to the leach field for the septic, so they had to do that to get to the septic tank.
The purpose for that curb cut was for the septic tank, and it's not suitable for heavy vehicles because there's a leach field there and it could potentially damage that septic system.
Okay, and Mr. Chair, through you, one more question. And you are putting down gravel or some sort of
Yes, sir.
track out rock?
We have already laid down gravel where environmental control had come out and said, or air control, I'm sorry. Air control had come out and said where we needed to like make little improvements. And so we had already like brought in the gravel and done it and stuff like that.
Good, well, looking at the pictures, you can tell that it's, that the soil is moist and well-maintained in the riding corral, so as long as you keep that up, I think you will hopefully be able to keep the neighbors off of you. And look into the trash, see what you can do, call up Public Services. They have a special team of people who help with challenged communities and challenges in picking up trash such as this. So
We had the supervisor come out twice to kind of look around and see, because I had a meeting with a lady that was here to talk. Like, she had come to my house, I invited her over, and we had discussed things that we could fix. And that had been one of the suggestions that, I offered, to try to find some type of solution. When I did have Aled come out, the supervisor had walked around the property trying to figure out a different solution for it, and that was the best place for him and his trucks to be able to get in there and get it without making too much dust or noise or whatever, be able to back in and move around. So, I mean, unless they can come out again and try to help me find another solution, I think we've kind of already like touched that.
yeah, sometimes it's tough dealing with Public Services, so.
Commissioner Bonar?
Yeah, this, Mr. Chair, this is, I'm going to try to make a positive statement out of this, but surely someone will take it the wrong way. This has been a land use issue, and I think you started off in a way that it was a personal attack because this couple happens to be renters. I too am and half my life was on the east half of the United States, and duration of longevity of number of generations has gone a long way. Well, leave that back on the East Coast. We're on the West Coast now. And if you want to go any farther, if this does go any farther, I'd advise you not to make it a personal attack, but keep it to the issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have one question for staff. I know that they're allowed to have 24 horses on the property, but as part of the commercial use, could we put a condition limiting the number of horses to the 14 that was mentioned by the applicant? Or did you say 18, or was it 14?
We don't plan on having any more than 14.
14.
So, but the property's zoned
Mr.
for
Chairman,
24.
through you, yes, you could limit the number of horses based upon the special use permit to 14 horses if you so desired.
All right. And would the applicant be willing to stipulate to that condition?
As long as it wasn't a permanent condition, because it's not like it's not my property yet, and so I don't want to change like her. I know like the neighbors next door, they have I think 19 or 20, and they have a smaller lot than we do, and then the neighbor over that has just as many. So it's not my property, so I don't know like if it just goes with our commercial use, and then if we decide we're not buying the property, if it just dissipates or whatever, and she can go back to having 24 horses.
Through the chair, I'm going to allow the city attorney, if you choose to respond to that.
I think the use is the use regardless of who owns it. If you believe that 14 is appropriate, then 14 is the number you should pick. People can always come back in and apply for a change from the 14 up to the 24. And that's probably the best method to do it.
Excuse me, city attorney, isn't, where I live, I was always told it's like per acre, like I could have 1 or 2 horses per acre. Is that not true?
I don't know anymore. I used to know in the old days,
Yeah.
when everything was RE, before that changed into all these new categories, I used
just
to know, but
remember
I don't,
someone-
maybe Mr. Rankin or the
I was
director
going
may
to tell
know.
Rick I'm getting a couple horses right now, but I thought I'd wait till later. Just kidding.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, The minimum, it is, you must be RE zoned in order to have horses. And then for every 7,500 square feet of property, you can have one horse now. Also, horses south of Cheyenne do require a special use permit now, where they previously didn't.
Mr. Chair, if there's no further discussion, I'm prepared to make a few comments and then make a motion.
Thank you.
I would like to see a condition for the commercial use on the number of horses that you have. And how about we go to 16? That way it gives you a little bit more room. It's still well under the 24-year allowed. And I just want to emphasize that this would be limited to the commercial use that you're requesting. If it's strictly residential, you're always allowed the 24 that you're entitled to already. But based on the length of time that this property has been there, that there have been stables, corrals, it's been, zoned for horse use, I believe it is suitable for the type and use. I knew coming in this was going to be a controversial item. I appreciate Ponderosa Estates. We've heard you. We've considered what you had to say. But in my opinion, keep in mind, I have to look at this as a land use. And it seems compatible to me with, the surrounding uses and what it's been zoned for. So with the condition that the commercial use would be limited to no more than 16 horses, my recommendation, my motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Can I ask
Chair, if I could, I know it's slightly out of order.
No, sir, thank you.
I just wanted to point out that the development standards produced by your staff indicate that there needs to be one space.
Thank you, sir.
for horses.
Okay, we've had the public portion right now.
I just have a quick question, just so I can, is that okay?
Sorry, this is strictly now up for the commission to
Okay.
decide and vote on. Thank you, though. Go ahead, Vice Chair Moody.
I'm sorry, that motion was for approval following staff's recommendation, subject to the condition limiting the commercial use to no more than 16 horses.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. Motion carries for approval.
Mr. Chair, this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on now to item number 38. This is SDR 48148. The applicant owner, Lonnie Walston, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a 1,900 square foot addition to an existing 9,471 square foot retail building with a waiver to allow a 0-foot landscape buffer along a 116-foot portion and an 8-foot landscape buffer along a 102-foot portion of the north property line, an 8-foot wide landscape buffer along the east and west property lines where a minimum 15-foot wide buffer is required, and a 0-foot wide landscape buffer along a portion of the south property line where an 8-foot landscape buffer is required at 1100 Martin L. King Boulevard in Ward 5, Councilman Barlow. Staff is recommending denial. Staff, can we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed addition is located at the north end of the building and will expand in line with the existing facade. The applicant has proposed 2 phases of development. The first phase consists of construction of the proposed 1,900 square foot building addition and creation of additional surface parking in the northwest quadrant of the subject site. In addition to the parking lot, the applicant has proposed 8-foot wide landscape planters to match the existing landscaping at the west property line along Martin Luther King Boulevard, where a 15-foot landscape buffer is required. The second phase of the development consists only of an additional surface parking lot with additional non-conforming landscape buffers proposed for the remaining north, east, and south property lines. Staff recommends denial of the proposed project. It does not meet the minimum standards of Title 19. Staff notes that parcel map 46752, combining both parcels, was recorded on February 12, 2013. Please note, we have received additional, wait a minute, if approved, this request has been conditioned to provide revised plans showing the appropriate trash enclosure, commercial loading space, parking lot trees, and appropriate handicap space. Please note, we have received additional letters of support since publication.
Thank you. If we could hear from the applicant, please, and sir, if you could state your name and address, please.
I'm Lonnie Walston. I live at 1930 Fair Avenue, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89106.
And sir?
I'm James Gray. I'm the general contractor working with Mr. Watson on this project.
And your address, please.
701 Sunny Place, Las Vegas, 89106.
Thank you. Tell us about it.
Well, we've been working with various people from the city to try and get this done, and they gave us some conditions to work with, and we're working on a condition that we've been told to do, and we hope that we can satisfy you guys and get approval and move on with the project.
Okay, thank you. Open this up for public comment. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion on this item and open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Goins?
Yeah, let me just ask the applicant, Mr. Gray, you say you met with the city and the city's provided you with certain conditions to meet, and are you able to meet those conditions?
We are. Now, I don't know if you guys have a copy of this, but
We do.
okay. On the second page, item 8 and 9, we're prepared to meet those conditions. And item 8 says revise the site plan for phase 2 shall be submitted and approved by the Department of Planning Department prior to the time applicant made for a building permit to reflect the changes herein. Perimeter wall at a minimum of 6 feet in height shall be provided at the southern property line adjacent to the residential property to the south in conformance with Title 1808. We plan to do that on the second page. Also, item number 9, a technical landscape plan shall be signed and sealed by a registered architecture, landscape architecture, residential designer, or civil engineer. Must be submitted prior to or at the same time applicant is made for a building permit.
Right. Mr. Gray, let me stop you right there. We can actually see what you're reading.
Okay.
So when you look at those conditions, there's a total of, from condition 1 all the way down to condition 13 being condition 12 and 13 added by Public Works.
Okay.
So typically what happens with an applicant is they come in, you're being recommended denial because some of those conditions haven't been met. And so if you can stand before us today and say that you can meet all 12, 13 of those conditions, then to us as a commission, that tells us that we should recommend approval, because you're saying on the record that you're going to do exactly what each one of those conditions says.
That's right.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've read them, you've understood them?
Right.
Each and every one of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Mr. Chair. For the applicant, you mentioned down here, you mentioned that the block wall was going to be in phase 2. However, this is a really small addition, so wouldn't this all be one phase? And would we, could we get that wall put in at the same time as we're constructing everything before certificate occupancy?
Go ahead.
Well, the reason why we would love to wait until the second phase, because the addition we're putting on, it's facing Martin Luther King, and other words, west of Martin Luther King and north of Madison. And the wall that we're speaking of now is south of N Street. We're in the back side right there. And if we could, if you all would let us, our basis so far back is not connected with what we're doing now. If you can wait until the second phase be in and then put the wall up, we could really appreciate that.
Mr. Chair. What is second phase? I don't understand first phase, second phase. Is there another building that you're going to be constructing?
No. May I speak?
Certainly.
Yeah. First phase is to construct the building, generate income. Second phase is to work on these conditions that has been proposed to us.
Well, if I may interject, sir, on that, I don't think you can do that. Specifically, if you look at, you've got two pieces of property that need to come together on one parcel map, and that's a condition before you can even get a building permit.
We are working on that.
And so, a lot of these conditions you're not going to be able to do later after you build the project, because you're not going to get to the point where you can even get a permit to build unless you satisfy some of these.
Yeah, we're working on getting the two properties joined together.
Well, the two properties are joined together. They are joined together. We have one parcel number now.
Mr. Chairman, if I could clarify?
Certainly.
Yes, the two properties have been combined. As I indicated in the staff report, parcel map 46752 has been recorded on 2/12/13. If I could clarify, what you see on your screen right now is Phase 1. It's a portion of the parking lot and the addition of the building. And then on the next slide, the southern rear area along N Street and the eastern side parking lot is Phase 2, and that is their Phase 2 of their project. So they're going to build, this is Phase 1 is proposed, and then at a subsequent phase, they'll be adding a parking lot in the rear.
So, Mr. Chair, through you.
I got that right?
You got it. Correct. Thank you. Right.
Thank you.
Through the chair, question for Mr. Rankin. The additional parking in Phase 2 is not required parking that's not being included in their parking analysis at this point, or?
It's not a required parking. That's why with Phase 1, they're doing the additional parking in order to meet the parking requirement for the building. The other parking lot would not be required parking at this time.
Mr. Chair, one more question, or one more comment. So I guess the question would be, if it's not required parking, do we put a time frame on it? Is it necessary for this project? I don't know. I'd like to hear a couple of people's concerns, because if it's not required and it never gets built, does it really hurt us? And if it is required and it is a good thing, then maybe we should put a time frame on it and just not leave it open-ended.
And sir, what is your time frame for building the parking lot?
Building the parking lot?
Yes, on Phase 2.
Well, I guess we as Mr. Watson answer that. Do you understand this question? Once we get the building up and running, how soon will you be able to?
The addition parking lot, I'm gonna do it right away, sure, after we get the building up. Because we need the parking anyway, we have to have the parking there, so.
Yeah, because Commissioner Schlotman is talking about putting a time limitation for when you can construct the parking lot. And so I guess what we're asking is we don't want you to commit to something that you can't do. So just kind of get a general idea on how long it would take you to complete Phase 2 after you've constructed the building.
Well, Mayor, I don't quite understand what you're saying, because the parking lot that we plan to put in Phase 1 is combined from the building that we're putting up for parking. We got to go in and tear parking lot out in order to build a building, so we got to put additional parking in right now, to compensate the business. So that's what we want to do. And then on the back side back there, if that's what you're speaking of, with a wall, a 6-foot wall going in, well then.
Mr. Rankin?
Just to clarify, I believe what's shown on the screen now is Phase 2, which is the parking lot in the rear, and I believe that's the commission is asking, what is the intent, when will that be built?
Parking lot
Here
in
on
the
the
rear.
screen right here.
Mr. Watson, what he's asking is, as soon as you finish building your
This area here.
first building,
Yes.
is it going to be 30 days after that you're going to start on the parking lot, 60 days, 90 days?
Yes,
or
right
you-
away, correct. Right away, so we get the building up, we're going to start in the parking lot.
So we're talking about the Phase 2 parking lot on the backside of N Street. correct?
Well, right now, I don't see where we need the parking lot on the backside of Main Street right now, because we're gonna carry.
Because you've got parking in the front,
Yeah, but we
on the
can't
Martin Luther
park it on-
King side.
Well, we're going on to Madison Street with the parking lot.
Right, but in your Phase 2, you are indicating you're going to build another parking lot on the back.
But what we were speaking of, Phase 2, that we were planning on putting another building up later on, pretty soon, and then that's when the parking lot will come in, I think. That's what we had planned.
So
see, we showed the
in
plan.
addition to this 1,900 square foot addition,
Yes.
to the existing 9,471, you're going to build another building?
Well, that's what we had planned later on. But see, I own the property from, see, we're gonna put, after the building is built, we're gonna put 4,000 foot of parking lot in shortly after the building is built.
In the front.
In the front.
In the front?
Yes.
That's correct.
Right.
So, and we're good with that.
Right,
So when we get to the back on N Street, when are we going to put that one in?
That's what-
See, because you're saying you're going to put it in, we want to give you a time frame. We want to say, once that front parking lot and that front building is built, within 30 or 60 days, you need to start on that back parking lot. Or if you can give us a time frame when you think you may start building that back parking lot.
Well, if there's a need for it,
So if there is no need, you may never build that back parking lot, correct?
well,
If you-
if the city say I have to build it, I'll build it, but, well, go ahead, I'm sorry. But I think once we put that, according to what we have there now, see, we only put 1,900 foot square building there. This is gonna be just a small retail storefront there. So we're gonna put, right at 4,000 square foot of parking lot in shortly after we build the building now. So we really, from what we're doing now, we really don't see where that's really a need for more parking lot right now. So if there's a need for it right away, we can put it in right away. If there's a need for it. And we can get, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
No, finish your thought.
And, Mr. Ch-
I just want to ask if he can be, is it possible that he can be exempt from the parking lot on the second phase that apparently he doesn't need?
If we don't need it.
In order to get the permit to build a building.
Mr. Chair.
And then if there's a need for it, we'll put it in, but we're putting 4,000 square foot in now.
If I may, everybody, I think here's where the disconnect is. I'm not sure they need Phase 2 to meet their requirements for the building right now. Is that correct so far?
Yeah, I think.
And then you want to maybe do Phase 2 in the future, so you're looking for an approval on Phase 2 should you decide to build that parking lot in the future?
I think you're spot on.
And so, Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, and I think another part of the disconnect comes from the fact that I was asking about the block wall, which is one of the conditions, and if it's city code, that we have to have a block wall going all the way around, but that's going to be put up in Phase 2 when the parking lot comes. Really, it doesn't matter to me when the parking lot comes. Whenever you build the building, you build the parking lot, that's fine, but if city code requires a block wall all the way around, we can't just leave that block wall hanging for 5 years and then never get
Well, if
built.
we have to build the back wall, then the back wall, back there, the 6-foot wall, we can do that shortly after the building's built. I can do that then, shortly after it's built.
And I think a time frame on that would be appropriate, and no further questions or comments.
Mr. Chairman, just a comment. I mean, I appreciate the applicant's desires here, but in what we received in our backup, it doesn't have landscaping on Madison. I know you want to build 1,900 feet. I don't think you'll be able to pay for the parking lot that you're going to be required to build, let alone do anything else, based on the economics. And I'm uncomfortable, because I'd be uncomfortable for any developer, is we'll let you build it, and then if you're successful financially, then you can build some more stuff. That's how we've got into a lot of the issues along this corridor anyway. You need to have a little better plan together, and I'd love to support you're adding 1,900 feet, but, you know, you're going to have to get some rents to twice the market to cover your costs. And I'm curious how you get there. So I don't think you'll ever get to the next phase in any kind of time frame that this commission could set and realistically expect to get there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Goins?
Well, I mean, if Mr. Walston says he has the wherewithal and the financial means to build it right away, I trust that be the case.
I can build the 6-foot wall right away, shortly after the building's up. I can do that right away. From the existing wall I have now back to N Street.
Well, let me ask you this. If we do away with Phase 2 right now,
okay,
and get rid of that portion, let me ask Mr. Rankin, what does that do to that, I guess that would be the east, what happens on the east side of that? Does that now then become where we can just put a wall up there at that point?
Yeah, at this point, this is one parcel. The original parcel line ran along the north side of the building, parallel to Madison. So the parcel line wasn't moving from north to south, but east to west, and they needed to remove that parcel line in order to gain the parking in the front. If the Planning Commission so desires, you could require the buffer wall along the south property line. That's a building permit, doesn't require a site plan review or anything along that section. If the desire is to eliminate and not entitle Phase 2 at this time, I'd recommend that we get a revised plan showing just Phase 1 as part of this process, including the 6-foot wall along the south property line.
Now, if we keep it like it is now, and he builds that first building, and we don't put a time frame on Phase 2, and we just let it hang there, that's just going to be vacant lot.
Correct, it'd be vacant lot, and then if he, as the applicant mentioned, wanted to do something different, that would be a brand-new site plan review and would probably come back to this Planning Commission for a new building or a new entitlement. If they chose not to build the parking lot, it would remain fallow ground for as long as they choose not to develop on it.
And so I'm kind of clear on this. As far as the block wall, would the block wall would go on the south property line, and then would it go all the way to N Street to the east?
That would be the condition, yes, that is the condition as it exists. And you could add a condition that the block wall, condition number 8 be completed prior to the issuance to a second certificate of occupancy of the new addition.
Does any other commissioners want to be heard on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, 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 wow. So we're going to meet all the landscaping on this. You agreeing to meet that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, about the landscaping, Commissioner, can we keep the landscaping with the system landscaping we have now, you know, like the landscape we already have out front, facing Martin Luther King Boulevard there? Can we carry it right along with that, the existing landscaping?
You want it to, yeah, we want it to be consistent with what's
Right, that's
currently
what we
out
do,
there.
yes.
However, looking at what I'm looking at on the photos now, I mean, as long as that's been up there, it needs to be a little bit more well-maintained in terms of the landscaping, because, I mean, millions of dollars have been put in down Martin Luther King Boulevard through Councilman Barlow's efforts to enhance that corridor. And, you know, just frankly speaking, we've probably got the best look at Martin Luther King Boulevard in the country compared to some of the others I went. So what we're trying to do now it's time for the business owners along that corridor to set the standard as well. And so right now I'm looking at, I don't know when this pictures was taken on January 31st, and you know, it's got a couple of palm trees and a couple of bushes, but in between there's just dirt and gravel.
Well, I can't add.
So we need to improve that landscaping along the front, and it needs to be continuous on to the new portion that you're building.
Well, I can very easily do that then, no problem.
So,
Commissioner Goins, before you make your motion, can we listen to Vice Chair Moody for a moment?
Sure.
Sorry.
Sure.
So I've sat back and listened. I haven't done a whole lot of talking, but to me, there are a whole lot of unanswered questions still. And I wonder if it may not be wise to step back, come back in 30 days, let you maybe tighten this up a little bit based on some of the discussion and questions. And so I'm just putting this out there to my fellow commissioners to see if anyone would support a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, that was my next course of action, was to see if I could actually ask them to hold it, and sit down with you and go through through some of these issues that you have, and let's try to come to a reasonable solution. Is that something you're willing to do?
If we have to, we can.
Which means hold the item for about 30 days.
Okay, if we have to, we can do that.
And what shall happen in the 30 days?
Between now and the 30 days, I would like to sit down and meet with you guys, also with the councilman's office, to see how we can, and one, I want to discuss whether Phase 2 is a viable option at this time, looking down the road. Because what I'd hate to have is to approve this and then have it just sit, and then year after year after year. And I can count to numerous projects in Ward 5 that, from Taj Mahal temples that were proposed and nothing's ever come out the ground. So I think if you can put up, it's time to get it done, but if we want to do it right, because again, this is a Martin Luther King corridor. It's a main corridor for retail through that portion of town, and we just want to make sure it's done right.
Well, I personally think it's a great idea. I mean, if you give us 30 days, and if you guys are going to meet with us and give us a chance to answer your question, and give us a chance to work with you, I love the idea. I work the idea.
Mr. Walsh?
That'll be fine with me.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
With that, Mr. Rankin or Mr. Director Flynn, which meeting date is 30 days out?
The April 9th Planning Commission meeting.
Okay. My motion would be to hold item SDR 48148 till the April 9th Planning Commission meeting.
Okay,
Go ahead, Nana.
Mr. Goins, how soon can we get a chance to meet with you all?
I will call you, what time are you up in the morning?
Very early.
Well,
It doesn't matter, just give me a call.
I'll call you probably about 9 o'clock tomorrow
That'll be
morning.
fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll leave my card here on the
Okay.
counter.
And I have your information in the backup documentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Please vote.
Thank you.
All right, thanks
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Okay.
Please post. The motion to hold this matter until the April 9th, 2013 Planning Commission meeting is approved. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks very much.
Thank you guys so very much. I look forward to working.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Going to recall item number 27. Do we have an applicant for item 27, which is Oja Japanese Steakhouse Sushi and Hibachi, owner PK1 Rainbow Promenade LLC? Seeing no applicant, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to hold this for 30 days, give the applicant a time. It sounds like a great project, but give them a time to present it.
Thank you. Please vote.
Commissioner Schlotman.
Please post. The motion to hold this until the April 9, 2013 Planning Commission meeting is approved. We're going to move on now to director's items, or excuse me, director's business. We'll start with item number 39, TXT 46131, with the applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas, for possible action to update the town center development standards to make various clarifications and update code references related to changes made to LVMC Title 19 with the adoption of the Unified Development Code. Staff is recommending approval, and may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, in 2010, the Planning Commission recommended adoption of the Unified Development Code for the City of Las Vegas to consolidate the city's subdivision and zoning codes into one comprehensive development code. Further, the Unified Development Code was amended in 2012 to consolidate use categories and streamline standards and requirements. This proposed amendment will update the town center development standards to reflect the changes and corrected references to properly mirror the updated Title 19. The proposed amendment would also eliminate standards and use listings for the Employment Center Mixed-Use Town Center land use designation, since this land use designation has been effectively eliminated by a series of planned community modifications over the years, culminating in the most recent Mod 47016, which removed the last 36 acres from the Employment Center Town Center designation. In addition to that, staff does have one amendment to this text amendment. It wasn't part of your backup. Staff is recommending that we amend the town center development standards to eliminate the language in the land use tables. The uses may be indicated by an S, where an asterisk is placed by the name. Conditions may not be waived. This condition is a Scribner's error. It did not appear in any ordinance throughout the life of Town Center. It was part of a graphic error. It was added inadvertently by staff. It has no legal standing, and we felt it best to remove it as part of this amendment so that everybody was aware that we were removing this condition that appeared inadvertently through the various iterations of the Town Center Development Standards. It appeared in about 2009 in a copy there, but there is no ordinance. It was not codified, and there are no asterisks in Town Center for uses on waivers. They don't exist, so we would like to remove that, just to clarify that as a Scribner's error, and we look for your support.
Thank you. Now we'll open this up for public comment. Would anybody like to be heard on this matter? Please state your name and address, please.
Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I'm disappointed the town center turned out to be a totally different animal than what it was intended to be.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion on this item and open it up for discussion with the commission. Seeing no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval of item 39, abeyance TXT 46131, with the staff report amendments.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve carries. Moving on to,
Sorry, I fell asleep on the job, Mr. Chair. This item will go forward to City Council in ordinance format.
Thank you. Moving on to item 40, DIR 48086, the Board of Regents of the Nevada System of Higher Education, for possible action on a request for a development agreement for the College of Southern Nevada on approximately 42.02 acres at the northwest corner of Elkhorn Road and Grand Montecito Parkway in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chair and members of the Commission, we have before you a development agreement for the College of Southern Nevada at the corner of Elkhorn and Grand Montecito. This development agreement was originally approved by City Council in 2008. It was then amended in 2010. Unfortunately, the agreement, which is tied to a federal patent, expired in 2012. Both the city and the College of Southern Nevada wish to reestablish this development agreement, and so what we have before you is a request to do exactly that. There are a couple of minor changes to the agreement over what you saw originally in 2008 and 2010. One of those is at the northwest corner of the site was originally proposed for a post office. The post office has indicated that they no longer wish to locate there. The College of Southern Nevada would like to see Opportunity Village establish themselves there, and so that is one of the changes that has been made. Another significant change is that in the interim, the transit center has been developed there on the site, and so we needed to make some minor changes to the language of the agreement to acknowledge that that transit center is there now, and relative to the parking and the development of Grand Montecito Parkway. Again, there are no significant changes in terms of the proposed development on the site. It's anticipated to be a mixed-use college campus, so that not only would you have classroom space there, you would also have living space for the students and supportive commercial uses. With that, staff would request your approval of this development agreement.
Thank you. We'll open it up for public comment. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public portion of comment on this item and open it up for discussion with the commissioners. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for approval of Director's Business 48086, following all, what's it called, Mr. Moody? Director's recommendations? Is that what it's called? Director's recommendations, I make the motion for approval.
Please vote.
Lucian's laughing.
Please post. Motion for approval carries.
And this item will go forward to the April 17th City Council meeting.
Moving on to item number 41, which is TXT 48308. Applicant owner, City of Las Vegas. Discussion and possible action to update the Downtown Centennial Plan to add the Tavern Limited Use to the 18B Arts District and Symphony Park. Staff is recommending approval. May we have a staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this amendment will bring the 18B Arts District and Symphony Park into conformance with Ordinance 6252, which allowed Tavern Limited licenses throughout the Downtown Centennial Plan area subject to certain conditions. It requires a special use permit for the Tavern Limited established in both districts, and this will add these uses to those use tables within that, and staff does recommend approval of this item.
Thank you. We'll open it up for public comment. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion and open it up for discussion with the commissioners. Does anybody wish to talk?
Yes,
Commissioner Swatman?
Mr. Chair, I own a urban lounge in the Arts District, and so therefore will be abstaining on this matter as it could directly affect me.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard?
Mr. Chairman, I also own property in 18B, or the Arts District, as I'd like to call it. But I would ask a question. What is the technical difference between an urban lounge and a Tavern Limited?
The technical difference, an urban lounge requires for every bar seat 2 lounge seats and also allows gaming. And Tavern Limited allows, first of all, there's no gaming that comes with that by right, and it does require a certain amount of entertainment to be provided by the operator according to Title VI. A urban lounge could still provide entertainment if they so desire. It's part of that. They could do that. They just require the seating of 2 to 1, and they could get up to 4 machines under current state law. The Tavern Limited would not have gaming and could have entertainment if they so desired. Or no, Tavern Limiteds require a certain amount of entertainment or themes.
Any other commissioners wish to comment? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I wished I owned property in the notice area, but I don't, so I won't abstain. Item 41, TXT 48308, move to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. The motion to approve carries, noting the abstentions of Commissioners Slotman and Truesdale.
And Mr. Chair, this item will go forward to City Council in ordinance format.
Item 42, TXT 48318, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for discussion and possible action to amend the LVMC Title 19 Unified Development Code of the City of Las Vegas to prohibit auto repair facility employees from test driving customer vehicles on a residential street. Staff has no recommendation, and staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, with the adoption of this bill, it would prohibit auto repair facility employees from test driving customer vehicles on residential street. If an auto repair garage wishes to utilize a residential street for automobile test drives, a test plan must be submitted with the Department of Planning for consideration. And staff has no recommendation regarding this ordinance.
Thank you. We'll open this up for public comment. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing no one, we'll close the public comment portion on this item and open it up for discussion with the commission. Commissioner Bonar?
Does this work strictly on a complaint basis then, or how is it policed?
Director?
Mr. Chair, through you, essentially this would be done as new auto repair facilities come into business. They would be required to submit a plan, and as you have already mentioned, if there's any question or complaints, then we would make existing facilities come in and submit a plan to us as well. It's not going to be entirely retroactive, meaning that all 300-plus auto repair facilities that we have in the city have to come to us. But again, it will be done as new facilities come in or as we have complaints from those that are existing.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Commissioner Truesdale?
For the director, this is like one of those things like outlawing big gulps. I mean, you can't test drive new cars on streets, which in essence are repair facilities, garages of auto dealerships. Isn't this one of those things where if you're over 21 and you know that you got a certain obligation, you get a business license, you'd make yourself aware of what you should and shouldn't do? Couldn't we bundle all of these auto businesses under one with regard to test drives? So everybody in the city of Las Vegas would know that that's a bad thing to commercially drive cars through the neighborhood without a plan?
Yes, you can. To elaborate, if you wanted to look at a Title VI amendment that would put these kinds of conditions on a license and require that they be in a license might be revocable even if somebody were to violate it, we could discuss that. That's not what's before the board today, but if you want to look in the future, we'll be glad to make a report to you.
I think that's one of those things that it puts it where it's enforceable. Here, it's the full employment of neighborhood complaints. And whereas the other part, it's a requirement of a license. A business, if you get a business license, you know what your requirements are. It seems simpler to me. It's not that land use issue as much as it is a business functioning issue.
Let me stand corrected by Mr. Rankin or Mr. Fagg, but if there is a violation of Title 19, it is a misdemeanor that's punishable by up to a $1,000 fine and or 6 months in jail. So citations could be issued for a violation. If you were to have a violation under Title VI, it might also be a misdemeanor depending on how we worded it. You might also have the ability to revoke the license, but revoking licenses doesn't occur without a full-blown hearing at the City Council, so you'd have potentially two ways to remedy the problem.
Commissioner Bonar?
I guess I have one more facet of this diamond. A lot of the shops I know are on both sides, if you will, of Sahara. and this only deals with the city. What about streets, residential or otherwise, that are in the county? When a city repair garage wants to take it down to where he knows it's, not in the city, maybe we ought to be thinking about coordinating with the county, so it's an overall condition. So maybe we shouldn't take action tonight.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to defer this for at least one meeting and perhaps two, until we find out whether or not we should maybe work it out into a different form of ordinance and/or coordinate with the county.
Before you vote on that, where is this coming from? I know there's no staff recommendation. Is this recommended by a member of council or recommended by?
That is correct. It was recommended by a member of council.
Can I make a suggestion to the maker of the motion that rather than hold this in advance to the next meeting, to table it, to be brought back at the director's discretion after he feels there have been sufficient discussions with the county?
I so change my motion.
Thank you. Please vote. The motion is to table it, only to be brought back at the director's discretion. Please post. Motion carries. Moving on to the final portion of tonight's agenda, the citizens' participation. Citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Sir, state your name and address.
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street, and I've been waiting a long time for this. When you guys approved the site development plan for this magnificent building, why didn't you put in a bike rack? What do you guys do when you ride your bikes down here from your far-flung empires out there? Where do you park your bikes?
We all come in the Mercedes with Truesdale.
There we go.
I leave the bike in the trunk of the car so I don't have to.
We get in that little box.
Does anybody else wish to make comments on the citizen participation portion?
One thing I'd like to say, Mr. Farlow is correct. I think a lot of people wish Town Center would have been the vision that it started out to be, and unfortunately, market conditions and time affect all our plans. And while it's a excellent success in what's there, it's far different than what it started out to be.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to make a comment? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.